All right, guys, another very important aspect of the content package is the sample project. So the sample project was designed off of a two-story building. It essentially was created so that firms could get a look and feel of how the families look when they're plotted out, how they function, how is everything connected, how are the connectors set up, is being done for flow propagation, how are people using this as a mechanical and electrical model. All these questions are meant to be to give are meant to be answered in the sample project itself. It's a completed sample project. HVAC loads have been ran on the project and GBXML data imported and exported so that users can go into the model and get a real feel of what a completed project looks like. The sample project also serves additional purposes for us in further development, because now that we have a completed data set and a example and solution showing that all, it's very easy to build on and add on. So you'll see updates over time. But in regards to the sample project, once again, like test elements, it sits on its own design option. So you guys may see distribution files differently where the sample project has already been accepted once that file gets split out. But for the purpose of me demoing in this cloud model, I have all the design options here. So essentially, we have it on a design option, so users can very easily strip the entire sample project out of the starter project or the latest cloud MEPP model that you guys might acquire. And what we have is we have a list of sheets for electrical, fire protection, mechanical, and plumbing, with the whole intent that like I said, we wanted to hit very, very common scenarios that you guys are going to come across in your designs and in your buildings. So, we have families that, like I said, are commonly found on many projects to give you guys a good taste of what things look like. We've included a PDF set in here, which I'll just show you guys real quick. This one's printed in color. There's black and white versions, but essentially this is meant for people, in firms to be able to review what this model is going to produce when you guys start placing elements. So you can choose to use how these symbols look, or you can choose to modify it. So in the sample project, I've included thermal zones on the mechanical side with, a full HVAC load analysis. Ductwork plans, so you guys can get a taste of how all the tags look and how everything looks on plan. And then, piping plans and things like that. And then also, so a gas piping plan, what does that look like when it gets plotted out? What do risers look like on the plan? And in some cases, what you guys will see in videos later on, we've included additional design schedules that may not end up on construction documents, but certainly serve a purpose of training people on how these families are doing the calculations. So that's what this is here. Same with the hydronic side, so we have our VAV box design schedule shown here. So you can see this is an auto-sizing family, which you'll hear more about, but essentially it's showing you what's the calculated values, what requires input, and what is an override. So inputs and overrides are essentially these blue columns. And then also, schedules. So what do the schedules look like when they're plotted out? So here's our domestic fixture schedule. As soon as you start placing families, this schedule is going to populate floor drains, storm drains, and all that kind of stuff. Riser diagrams, what do they look like with this family content? So, and then all the electrical drawings too, which I don't have with me today. So you guys can acquire those from CTC. So like I said, this comes from a full MEP model where electrical has circuited the mechanical equipment families. So now I'm just going to show you a couple things in this model. So what the full intent was for you guys to get a completed project, a fully completed project, not a half-done one, and figure out what kind of information you want to play with and modify. So let's look at some riser sheets. Like duct and gas riser diagrams. Let's go to that sheet. Okay, so I'm gonna activate this view. So these are fully connected systems with connectors set up exactly how I would want them set up. So you guys are able to go ahead and select different families and find out different pieces of information from them. So I'm gonna exclude options there. So here's our rooftop unit. So we've shown you an example of displacing elements, this button right here. So it's a nice way to separate out multiple floors of riser diagrams. And then the sample project, what you're able to see is, the different system information and that type of information. So this return error system, we have static pressure calcs now connected because we have in part those values at the air terminals. If we look at the supply air system, we've got static pressure calculations, connected airflows, all that kind of stuff. So this particular project is set up with two different scenarios. One is the RTU, a separate system from the VAV boxes. And the second scenario is for the electric reheat, is where the rooftop unit family includes all of that in one system. So you see some different things with the duct systems, airflow, and pressure drop specifically. So right now return error was at 0.8. So supply air 1.13 inches static. So once again, it's just something you guys can play around with. Some other examples on the plumbing side. So we have full waste and vent riser diagrams that have been annotated for you guys to play around with the tags, play around with changing fixture units, all that kind of stuff. So there's no tricks in any of these families for propagating flow. You just have to make the connection. So it's all here. So you guys don't have to build it from scratch. You guys can play with it and use it as you see fit. On the electrical side, we have full motor schedules filled out for mechanical and electrical. So once again, this was a shared model that we made. So here's our motor coordination schedule. These are all mechanical equipment families that have been placed by mechanical and circuited by electrical. Same thing, all the lighting fixtures here. So this is one way to review information. But really, if you're going to be changing values in families, the best spot is to do that in test elements, because then you're hitting every element in the entire model and you can update those type values with what your company preferences are in the beginning. And I guess the last piece I'll show is our title sheet. So mechanical and electrical use dynamic title sheets, which isn't Legends in Revit. It's based upon design options and placing elements on non-primary design options. So they're not included in schedules and not seen by other disciplines linking in our model. But you guys will be able to see this and modify it once again. So that's the sample project.